Okay, this is part 3 of our lectures about paintings from the Renaissance and the Reformation from the book Best Christian Art by Rogers, me. We're starting on page 362, interior of a church in St. Bavo in Haarlem. And the main point of this picture is just to show you the difference between the inside of a Protestant church versus a Catholic church. Protestant church interiors are so boring. I think they really went down that wrong path of saying all painting and sculpture is idolatry. BS, okay? You know, we love painting and sculpture. Let us enjoy it. Don't, bore us with your puritanistic stupidity. Okay, look how great now this church, by the way, this is inside St. Peter's Basilica, and I can just tell you there's a lot of other Catholic churches that are much better. The indoors of French churches, I like those better. But still, it's nice. There's a lot of decorations. I like paintings. A lot of Italian churches, too, will have a lot more paintings as one gets closer to the altar and more sculpture. You see some of the paintings and sculpture up here. This one's by Giovanni Paolo Panini. He's a good painter of Italian subjects. He did a bunch of stuff about ancient Rome as well. Okay, here's the painting of the Notre Dame Cathedral in France, in Paris, by Auguste van Siegen. And, it's a magnificent cathedral. The book, Hunchback of Notre Dame by Victor Hugo, is magnificent. It's a great book to listen to on audio CD. It's stunning how great of a book it is. And of course, I'm sure that the fire a couple of years ago, burning the roof down, was just a coincidence. I'm sure that wasn't done by the ruler over there. Okay, here's a painting of Henry VIII with Catherine of Aragon before the papal legates, and I think it's a great idea having a religion, Anglicanism, founded by a guy who had 8 wives and bumped off half of them. Okay, that's the problem when you have a secular ruler in charge of a religion. They're just going to distort it for their own personal goals, and they're going to mess up the church. And I think that's why Anglicanism has declined so much in England. Okay, here's King Henry VIII. And here he is when he meets Anne Boleyn. This painting is by Daniel Maclise, the Irish painter. And so again, I don't think the ruler should be running the religion. That's a major conflict of interest. Actually, it's an individual thing. Okay, here's the painting of The Three Ages of Man by Titian. It's a decent painting. Caspar David Friedrich has a better painting of the Ages of Man, but still it's decent. So basically the babies by themselves, the children playing with other children, the young guy with the woman, time to reproduce, and then the old guy's by himself again. That's kind of how life goes. So anyways, it's a nice painting. Okay, now we're in the next chapter on the Founding Fathers. This painting right here this is chapter 13. This painting is the First Continental Congress. And what you can see here is the Founding Fathers were all praying to the Christian God. Okay, this painting is by Tompkins Harrison Madison from 1848. And that's a thing that's not widely recognized amongst people. America was an intensely religious country at its founding, okay? And 98% of them were all Christians, and practicing religion. And then they'll try to say, oh, Jefferson wasn't religious. Yeah, right. I've read 4 biographies of him. He was a religious fanatic by modern standards. But the same building in which they would legislate, they would have Mass, and they would pray to the Christian God. Okay, so that's an important point. That's what enabled the founding of this nation as a free republic. Okay. Now here is Patrick Henry, and he was a great speaker, another one of the Founding Fathers. Here he is speaking in the Virginia House of Burgesses. This is in 1775, painting by Peter Rothermel. And here's a speech by Patrick Henry. I know of no way of judging the future but by the past. It is natural for man to indulge in illusions of hope. We are apt to shut our eyes against the painful truth and to listen to the song of a siren till she transforms us into beasts. Are we disposed to be of the number of those who having eyes see not, or having ears hear not? For my part, whatever anguish of spirit it may cost, I am willing to know the whole truth, to know the worst, and to provide for it. Is life so dear, or peace so sweet, as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery? Forbid it, Almighty God. I know not what course others may take. But as for me, give me liberty or give me death. Patrick Henry, 1775. Back in the day when men were men. Okay. And here's another quote by Patrick Henry. It cannot be emphasized too strongly or too often that this great nation was founded not by religionists, but by Christians. Not on religions, but on the gospel of Jesus Christ. On the gospel of Jesus Christ. It is when people forget God that the tyrants forge their chains. The Bible is worth all of the other books which have ever been printed. Patrick Henry, he lived from 1736 to 1799. And that quote, it is when people forget God that the tyrants forge their chains. That's been well shown, okay? That's well shown in the Bible. People turn their back on God and they get pushed into slavery. If you asked Alexander Solzhenitsyn from the 1900s, why did Russia fall and let itself be enslaved and destroyed and 65 million Christians killed? That was because men had turned away from God. That's just a fact. It's obvious if you know history and you've studied this. Okay, here's a painting of Thomas Jefferson right after writing the Declaration of Independence. Ben Franklin is proofreading it, and so is John Adams. And America has the best founding fathers of any country that ever existed. Okay? Jefferson was a super genius, and so was Ben Franklin. John Adams was a very bright guy, but these guys were really rather incredible geniuses, especially, I think, Jefferson. He could read in multiple languages. The more you study him, he is well worth studying. The best biography of Jefferson is the one by David Barton. This painting is by Jean-Léon Gérôme, the French guy. Okay, a couple things about the Declaration of Independence. It says that American citizen rights are endowed by God. Endowed by God. They are also based on the Constitution, which includes the First Amendment, which protects free speech. America was founded as a Christian nation. That's an important point. It was founded as a Christian nation. And the painting, yeah, we said was Jean-Léon Gérôme. Okay, now here's another painting of Thomas Jefferson. And like I said, this guy was a super genius. He was reading in 5 different languages, and he was trying to get everybody to read the Bible, all his children, all his university students, all these other populations as well. And he looks exactly like the guy who was getting A+s in all the classes at Stanford, who I said, hey, give me some advice. And I started hanging out with that guy, and I learned his style, and then my grades became very good as well. But that's exactly what he looked like. And I can just tell you, the more you study him, the more you'll be impressed by him. At first, you'll hear all kinds of people trying to badmouth him. But then you start to look at him and what he really did, what he really said, how he really behaved. And he's a pretty awesome guy. Okay, this painting's by Mather Brown. Okay, Thomas Jefferson, great genius, founding father of the United States. Okay, here is the public signing of the Declaration of Independence in 1776, painted by John Trumbull in 1819. We hold these truths to be self-evident. This is Jefferson speaking. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. They are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, from the Declaration of Independence. Farmers, cultivators of the earth, are the most valuable citizens. Merchants are the least virtuous citizens, and possess the least of amor patriae. A republic is the only form of government which is not eternally at open or secret war with the rights of mankind. Since a being cannot come from non-being, logically man was created by something greater than man. The God who gave us life gave us liberty at the same time. The God of creation gave us liberty when he gave us life. Our liberty depends on freedom of the press. Where the press is free, all is safe. The only security for all is in a free press. So yeah, that's real important. And he knew it back then, Thomas Jefferson. People have to be able to have free speech. Okay, Jefferson continues. The nation that expects to be ignorant and free expects what never was and never can be. Thomas Jefferson lived from 1743 to 1826. Okay, now here's the last painting for today. And this is George G.W. crossing the Delaware River by Emanuel Lutz from 1851. It's a magnificent painting. It's even more impressive if you have it fully filling up your screen. And this is when they made, it was like Christmas Eve, they made a surprise attack on the German mercenaries, the Hessians. And it was a real turning point in the war to boost morale because they hadn't been doing so well against the English and their German mercenaries. But after this, people then had a lot more confidence in GW, and he was pretty magnificent. The book by O'Reilly about this, 1776 and whatnot, is really good, very entertaining. There's other books that go into more detail. There's a lot of good books on that subject, but I'm just telling you, that's a very entertaining one if you want to listen to an audio CD book in your car. So I hope that was helpful and interesting.